What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Pro V Pro. TPC Craig Ranch. Justin basically lives on the golf course. And we've had back-to-back seasons with takedowns here. So you knew we had to do an episode of Pro V Pro. But before we get into that stuff, Justin, I've got a great hot take for you for the U.S. Ryder Cup team. I want your genuine reaction to this. I am saying that at least two, maybe three of the United States team will be live guys.
At least two, maybe three will be live guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there'll be one.
Oh, there will definitely be one. I mean, Bryson's basically a lock. Bryson's going to qualify. Like, he's not even have to be picked. He's going to qualify.
Is he? So he's going to play well enough to. So Bryson, and then you're going to add two more to that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't even
at
know
least one.
who you would. Who do you think is going to play well enough to get in there, or are you saying they're going to play well enough to be on the team, or they're going to get picked, or both?
So let's bring up the actual list here. So you've got Scotty, Xander, and Morikawa kind of ahead of the pack here. Then you get Bryson, Henley, and Justin Thomas. So I'm saying Bryson's going to qualify. Now, maybe he won't, right? Like, there's a pretty big drop-off before you get to Mav. But we've got three majors and a bunch of signature events ahead. So there are still a bunch of Ryder Cup points available. But yeah, I think Bryson's going to qualify. So then I'm saying, let's look at this group here. You've got Mav, Harman, Novak, JJ Spawn. Cantlay's like the only established guy in this range. Harris English, Tom Hoagie. Keegan doesn't want to take any of those guys. Mav, maybe, right? Like, Mav has been surging this year. If Mav continues to play like this all season, I think he'd be a pretty easy selection. Similar with Novak, but like, these guys haven't proven anything in major championships yet. They haven't proven anything in the best fields. They've just done well. Like, I mean, for example, how much does Novak's Zurich Classic win help his chances of making the team outside of helping him actually qualify on points? So
he's been playing well though this year. Like, if you look at his year, and so he was the one I was going to go to on this list that, like, if anybody has the chance to earn their way onto this team through the majors the rest of the year, the way he's played this year compared to previous years, that's the guy that I would watch out for. Not because he won last week. That really doesn't do anything for me. But I do think that Novak will play his way into either being picked or close to actually qualifying. That's my opinion as far as that list goes. But you're right. We're seeing
I totally agree with that. But my point kind of is that he and the other guys are here on the screen. Like, they haven't done anything in majors. So in order to be picked, they're going to have to do something in the majors the rest of the year. And essentially my hot take boils down to the fact that I think there are a couple live guys, three really, but like two that I'm very much thinking of that I just think have a better chance of showing up and showing out in the majors in such a way that they're going to get picked. But
so Bryson and Koepka, and then who would be your third?
Koepka's second. And we'll talk about Koepka for a second. There is one more point I want to make about why the American team kind of seems so weak this year. But before we get into that, let's talk Brooks for a second. Let's remember the last time we saw Bethpage Black was in the, let's see, which U.S. Open was that?
I don't remember what year it was. I remember watching it, but I don't remember what.
All right, let's see.
And I don't have a lot of bucket list places I want to play, but like, I'm not a big like golf nerd when it comes to that, but that is a golf course that I would like to play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have played it. It is spectacular. It is so freaking difficult. The only course that I would say I've played that I think is like pretty clearly more difficult was actually TPC Avenel, which I just played a couple weeks ago, where they hosted the Wells Fargo a couple years ago when Quail Hollow had the President's Cup. We're going to talk plenty next week about Philadelphia Cricket Club also filling in for that event when Quail Hollow has another event, this time the PGA Championship. But yeah, I mean, Bethpage Black, like it's just
day-to-day hard. Like that's what I like about it is they're
Mhm.
like, hey, you're going to come get your teeth beat in every single time you play. We're not going to make
Yeah.
this easier for the public.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Maybe it was a PGA Championship, not a U.S. Open.
I'm pretty sure it was U.S. Open, but I could be wrong for sure.
No, it was the PGA Championship in 2019, where third place, tied for third, Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Matt Wallace. Shout out to Matt Wallace at 2 under par. Second place was Dustin Johnson at 6, and then Brooks won at 8. So like those two just dominated the golf course. By the way, Brooks went into the final round at 12 under, just a massive lead. I don't know how he did that. 63 and 65 rounds 1 and 2 on Bethpage Black is absolutely absurd. But so you have the past success at Bethpage Black for Brooks Koepka. He had some major success the last couple of years. Obviously, he will have to do something in the major season this year, but I think there's a very good chance he does that. When you think of the golf courses this year in the major championships, you get Oakmont, you get Quail Hollow, 2 courses that should fit his skill set quite well. I think we very well could see Brooks there. The third one is a name that we've already mentioned so far on this show. Do you have a guess?
You already named him. The only American you named, right, is Dustin Johnson. Did you name somebody else?
Nope, it's DJ.
That is an absolute hot take. That's probably one of the most far-fetched takes that I've heard. Now, I mean, I did hear the interview where he was talking about how close he was to playing good and how he was hitting it good. And I'll be honest, he was in my 200 single at the Masters because and then that horrendous finish just cost me so much money that I'm not going to get behind him the rest of the year. Like I was so disgusted by
that. He's had 2 of like his 3 or 4 complete best finishes on LIV in his last 4 starts. Was 5th in Singapore and just finished 7th in Mexico City. But when you look at his like true strokes gained, those have been 2 of his best events there. And think of the golf courses that we're about to play in the major championships. We already mentioned Quail Hollow. Quail Hollow on its own, even before turning it into a major championship course, is one of the few on tour that dramatically increase the predictive value of both distance and accuracy off the tee. That's music to the ears of one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the history of the game, who, by the way, has driven the ball really, really well this year. It's why he's starting to play well again on LIV. And then you get Oakmont, where he's won a U.S. Open. So, yeah, I think DJ is really set up well to show out at the majors this year. And if he does that, and you are Keegan Bradley, and you are presented with a decision of Harris English or a suddenly informed Dustin Johnson, that's not a difficult decision. You are taking.
You think the PGA is going to let him get away with this?
On Bethpage Black, where DJ also played extremely well in 2019, again, that becomes a really easy decision. So basically, this hot take isn't necessarily saying that they're going to do it, right? Like, I'm not saying that they have a better than 50% chance of making the team. Essentially, what I'm saying is when you look at the board, because so many of the better Americans are playing poorly this year, Wyndham Clark, Tony Finau, Keegan, by the way, the third guy with a chance is Patrick Reed. He doesn't fit the golf courses coming up ahead, which is why I didn't include him. But he's the one who's probably like actually in the best form of these LIV guys, played well at the Masters. So he has a chance if he plays well. But there's also the element of like Keegan doesn't want to take Patrick Reed. Reed would probably have to qualify on his own, which might be an impossibility at this point. But then you get Homa, Thigala, Sam Burns, Jordan Spieth. So many of the guys, even Cam Young, that like 2 years ago we would have thought were competing for, spots 4 through 12 on the team, just have played so poorly this year. So there is an element of like any of those guys could start playing well. But this hot take is essentially based on the idea that if Brooks Koepka and if Dustin Johnson show life throughout the rest of the major season, because of their fit for those golf courses in this major season and their fit and past success on Bethpage Black, they're like two of the only guys remaining that if they're playing well, become an easy decision to say, yeah, I want that guy in the team. There's not really anyone else. I don't care what Harris English does in the majors. He's not going to be an easy selection for Keegan Bradley. I don't care what Tom Hoagie does or what JJ Spawn does or what Brian Harmon does. They're not easy selections to say, yes, I want those guys at Bethpage Black because it's about major pedigree and it's also about course fit on a long, brutally difficult golf course.
First of all, I don't know that the PGA will allow that to happen. I could be wrong. I just don't know how much the PGA of America is going to side with the PGA Tour and all this nonsense. You know, I hope
they've already said live guys are available. It's totally up to what Keegan.
But I think Jordan Spieth is more likely to make the team than Dustin Johnson.
I like that hot take too. I mean, I've been talking about Spieth the last couple of weeks, saying like I think his game's actually quite close, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he starts playing really well throughout the rest of the season.
But I think you're right about Koepka. I'm not like that. That's not a super hot take to me. I mean, I think Reed and DJ both have the ability to do it. They both like the big moments. I think the thing about Patrick Reed, like as much as people say that he's not liked, like, you know, if you get him on the Ryder Cup, he's going to care. Like, he's going to want to be there. The moment's not going to be too big. Like, so I don't know. I would, at this point, until DJ really shows something. Speaking of which, did you watch any of the live stuff?
No, I didn't. But this is what DJ has done this year, right? Let's look at these total strokes gained, plus 2.5 basically twice. That's playing pretty good golf. Whoops. And you can see that that's happening largely because he's driving the ball long and straight.
Well, that golf course they played is at like 1,000,000 feet. I played the Latin America event there I guess 10 years ago now or whatever, but the ball goes so far. And when it's firm and fast, like if he drove it in the fairway there with how firm and fast that place it was and in elevation, like that's impressive. Like I don't like that place gets narrow in a hurry.
Well, and so essentially, like, I'm not saying that the fact that he's finished 5th and 7th on live means that Keegan should pay attention to that. Not at all. Keegan's not going to care. We should not care. Only insofar as the fact that he's actually showing some form dramatically improves his chances of actually performing, contending, maybe even winning a major this season. So that's the basis of this hot take. It's not that Keegan should care at all about what he's done on live. It's that I am calling DJ playing well enough in the PGA Championship, the US Open, to suddenly then get that attention and potentially get picked. And that's largely just because the bottom half of the US team, when you think about who can match up both on paper and then on the actual golf course against Rory, Rahm, Vic, it's like name value will mean something for Keegan, right? Like you want to have a team that on paper is intimidating to the European squad. And Tom Hoagie, Harris English, JJ Spawn, they don't do it. They just flat out don't do it.
And it's not like and to your point here, it's not like we have like a 21, 22-year-old kid that can come and just – that maybe is not there yet, but has shown this brilliance of, hey, he's going to be the next superstar. We really don't have one of those yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the closest would be like Akshay Bhatia, but with someone like Bhatia, you run into the course fit issue. You have to be longer than Bhatia to really be able to thrive at Bethpage Black.
And he doesn't really have a lot of hype either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for his playing as well as he has, like, you don't get the hype of like what we got with Scheffler and what we got with Spieth when they were kids. You don't have that hype with him. And not saying that he doesn't deserve some of it. You just don't have it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the closest to that might have been Theegala if he continued to play this season the way he did last season. But he's just been terrible. And that's kind of the theme of a lot of these Americans is the guys we expected to be at the top of the Ryder Cup standings have just had awful seasons.
And don't count out Wyndham Clark yet either. He would be another one that I think that might find some form in these majors to play his way in or close to. I don't think he has to, if he gets to 15th or whatever, I would say he's pretty much a lock to be on the team.
He's definitely my pick for like which of the struggling Americans this season plays well throughout the rest of the major season and becomes an easy selection. Let's do this. If you had to draft the team right now, not predicting who will play well the rest of the year, but if you had to pick the team right now, if the Ryder Cup was the first week of June, and you had to pick the team now, who are you going with beyond those first six? And I can bring up the list of guys again if that will help you.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely help. I mean, Koepka would be on my team just for the firepower for sure. I mean, I like. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
It would be McNeely. McNeely would be in. Cantlay would be in. Koepka. Man, this is where it gets hard. I mean, I probably would go all the way to Wyndham Clark.
Yep.
That gets me to 10.
I don't know. Right now, by the way, I'm in lockstep so far.
After that, I don't even know where I would go.
This is why I'm saying DJ's got a chance.
I mean, right now, I would take Patrick. I personally, just because I love Patrick Reed, my last two would be Reed and Harman.
Okay.
I mean, Harman's won in the majors. He's won a major. We know he's a competitor. He's got that bulldog mentality. So I don't mind, even though it's not a great course fit for him, I don't mind playing him. Yeah, I would probably go Harman and Reed, to be honest. I mean, and you could interchange, just for course fit reasons, you could interchange DJ and Reed if that's what you really want to do. But yeah, to your point, like, I mean, you have to take Cantlay, even though he's playing terrible, but he's 11th in the standings. You have to take McNeely, in my opinion. You have to take Koepka, in my opinion. Like, those just have to be picked.
Yep, I agree. I think my final two would probably be Spieth and DJ. And with that decision, like I do think it's important to say one of the reasons why I think the Americans have underperformed in Ryder Cups is because they are losing the strategy battle. They're consistently losing the strategy battle. They are too inclined to take the guys that they either think deserve it or that they think like are buddies with other guys and will just pair well with them, like Scotty and Sam Burns, for example. I don't think Burns deserved to be in the last Ryder Cup team, but he essentially got picked just because he was the guy who was going to play with Scotty in the first round. So,
I agree. We lose the perception battle. The Europeans don't give a shit who they take or what the perception is of their picks. Whereas the Americans definitely fall into that trap. Oh, look, McNeely's 7th and Harman's 8th and Novak's 9th. That we have to take them, or we look like we're just leaving them out and we're playing buddies with Spieth. Well, guess what? I'd rather have Spieth on my team than Andrew Novak right now. Sorry, that's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, one of the reasons why I'm taking Spieth is actually the same reason why I'm taking DJ. And that is because there's so much strategy involved with the Ryder Cup. Like, I feel really good about the Americans' top 6, right? Scotty, Xander, Morikawa, Bryson, Henley, JT. I don't care if I have to play those guys all 5 sessions. So what I'm thinking beyond that is, who can I potentially get the most out of from the rest of the crew? If I take DJ and Spieth, I'm taking them because they have a genuinely great ceiling. And they both make a ton of birdies. So I can send them out in the first 4 ball. Hope that I'm seeing some really solid golf from them. But if they don't have it, if they have their C game, hopefully they still make enough birdies. Maybe their partner carries them. They can still get the win. But now I know, okay, I can't trust these guys the rest of the week. We don't have their A game. We were hoping they'd show up with their A game. They don't have it. Maybe you play them again in the next 4 ball session. Maybe they only play 2 sessions all week where they get the opening 4 ball and then the singles match. But you're not going to get killed by that pick. But if you take DJ or Spieth and they come out and they look awesome in that first round and you end up getting like 4 spectacular sessions out of them, that's a much, much higher ceiling than JJ Spawn or Andrew Novak or Brian Harman can possibly give you. And that's why I'm taking those guys right now because of what they offer. And it's the strategy. It's the thinking through, like, what is your plan for the entire week, the pairings, that sort of thing, which, again, the Americans haven't done nearly well enough. And it's why so much of the conversation around the Ryder Cup has just been who deserves it and not who's going to give the team the best chance to win. The fact that their ceilings are so much higher is reason to put them on the team, even if they haven't done enough to qualify. DJ,
I agree.
They'd be my last two.
I like it. The deal with DJ is that might be too far into the perception battle, in my opinion. Like, just because you are literally just you're simply going by what he's been and not what he is.
What do you think he will have to do in this major season for that perception to change, where picking DJ suddenly seems like either a very reasonable or almost the thing you have to do?
I just think he has to find his way into contention. I don't think he has to win, but if we're talking about him on Sunday in 2 of the 3 majors, I think that's enough.
Yeah.
People are going to, he's got to win, or he's got a top 5, or obviously you'd hate to see a Sunday meltdown, but if he's in the final 2 or 3 groups on Sunday, 4 groups even, and we're talking about him a couple of times, or even the other side of makes the cut on the number and then finds himself into backdoor in a top 10, like that kind of does it for me too, that he's showing that he can compete that way. I don't think he has to do anything like go win 2 out of 3 or anything stupid like that, right? I don't even think he has to win 1, but I think it has to be in contention at least twice. And my point is, I think the perception of doing it once is like, oh, he got lucky, or he just played well that week, and that's not really who he is or the form he's in. But if he does it multiple times, then we're going, okay, maybe he is back into form.
I think you're probably right, but I will say, if he only did it once and was fine in the other 2, if that once was at Oakmont, I think that would be enough. I think that would be enough because there's obviously a lot of carryover in the difficulty and setup between Oakmont and Bethpage Black, where if he does it at Oakmont, people are saying, it's still DJ on a long, brutally difficult golf course. He's already shown us he can do it this year. He's going to be able to do it at Bethpage. So I think that's like the one exception where he might only have to do it once. Now,
as long as he doesn't go DFS.
Quail Hollow and Portrush, probably not. But like, if he's fine at those other 2 events and contends at Oakmont, I think that's enough.
Is this like one of the best jobs of golf course picking in a row, especially if you include the Ryder Cup, for where the majors are and then the Ryder Cup? Like, did they not do an unbelievably good job?
This is so good. Yeah. By the way, how about this? Like, this is just pure coincidence, but how cool is this? So we get Philly Cricket next week for the Truist Championship, and then we get Oakmont for the U.S. Open this year. When I won the Pennsylvania Open, that was in 2021, it was at Philly Cricket. The year before, I missed the cut in the Pennsylvania Open at Oakmont. So this is like the year of the PA Open overlap. So I can't wait to talk through these golf courses the rest of the season. It's going to be a hell of a year here at Pro V Pro. Quick reminder, by the way, guys, we're just starting to get this show back up. So please like the show, comment on the show. Tell us what you think. Like, do you want to hear more Ryder Cup stuff each week? Do you just want us to dive right into the picks, whatever? And, of course, subscribe to the channel as well. All right, let's move on to the CJ Cup at Byron Nelson. Reminder, we have had takedowns here 2 straight seasons. I do not think this is a coincidence. I do think it is exactly because there's a very strong course fit model. It's a very unique course fit model. Let's get into it. Justin, I'll start with you. Why don't you talk us through some of the changes the golf course has made and what you maybe expect the effect of those changes to be?
So I haven't been on grounds this year. Going back, when I played PGA Tour Canada, I used to go out there and practice all the time. I hate the golf course, legitimately hated it. All the talk is, it's so funny. I have a buddy that doesn't watch the show and doesn't understand the course fit. He's like, well, short game's finally going to matter. And I was like, well, it's funny. We leaned on short game here anyway, every year. But the way that he talked is it's going to matter even more. The fairways have been grown in a little bit. The rough is supposed to be up. We are getting a ton of rain tomorrow. 100% chance of rain. So can you hear that? Sorry, I don't know what the ice maker.
No, you're good.
So I can't wait to go out. I'm going to be out there Thursday. Anybody that listens to the show, let me know if you're going to be there. I'll definitely check into Discord in the morning. We're going to be on 17. So, it should be even more of what the course fit is: distance off the tee and around the green. So I wouldn't. We already have a good model here. I wouldn't vary too much from it. I think if anything, it makes it stronger.
Yeah, I mean that's my thought, and so the other aspects of the course model, by the way, approach, accuracy off the tee, and putting. It's not like they're way down; they're just kind of neutral. But we get this very big spike in distance and around the green play, both up over 30% in predictive value this week, and consistently over the years, like those have been the skill sets that have landed us on plays like S.H. Kim last season, right? Like his approach play is awful, but he's great around the greens and he can hit the ball decent way off the tee. So we were on S.H. Kim last year, ends up with the top 5 finish at like 0.9% ownership or something like that, right? So we're consistently finding hidden gems who play really, really well at this golf course because of the course fit model. And hopefully we're able to do the same this year. But I do think like there has been a lot of talk about the change in grass type this year, and I just don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. The layout itself is what causes the spike in distance and around the green signal. I think we're going to continue to see it.
Yeah, do you have driving distance handy? Like, is that hard for you to pull up?
You mean distance for players like standings?
Yeah, off the tee. So I'm just curious. So if you guys remember a couple years ago, my buddy Bobby Massa Mondayed into this event, and I said before the event started that he would lead the tournament in driving distance. I think he did. I think he was also way up in total driving. I just remember him playing with Matty Schmid, and I think he hits it pretty far. That's who I was going to ask about.
Oh, Matty Schmid?
Yeah.
Let me find him. Yeah, I mean he's fairly long off the tee. I'm using our strokes gained driving distance estimate. Oh man, where is he?
But my point was Bobby literally was hitting it so far by him that Matty was just getting frustrated and like, and he thought of himself as being somebody that hit it pretty far. So if that tells you how far this guy, I mean, he lost in the semis of the US Am last year. And he's 34 years old, 35 years old. It's not like he's a kid, but if you saw him, he's a monster. He's built.
Yeah, I mean, Schmidt gains something like 10 to 15 yards per round against the field. So, yeah, I mean, that would probably put Massa in the like.
He's going to be in the elite driving distance category. I'm going to tell there's not going to be
Toasty Thorbjornsen type category. Got her up. Probably a little bit shy of Pot Peter and Brandon Matthews, but maybe he's with those guys.
I would probably agree with that. That sounds about right to me. Anyway, he's been playing unbelievable. He, like I said before, he's one of the most talented golfers I've ever played with. Yeah. That includes Bubba Watson and a lot of the guys that I played with, Dustin Johnson when they were young. Like Bobby is that talented, and he chips and putts it as good as anybody I know. I wish these greens were Bermuda. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually I played with him so much. I actually think he putts it better on Bermuda than bent, which I think is I think matters. So I hope he plays good. I definitely will have him in a lineup. I just think if you're going to give me, 0.5% owned at $6,000, I'm going to take the longest guy in the field that I know that can chip and putt it. Is the moment going to be too big for him? I don't know. I mean, is playing in the semis of the US Am comparable to playing in a PGA Tour event? I mean, you're one win away from playing Augusta.
Yeah. From just like a pure pressure standpoint, it's definitely similar. Let's talk a little bit about the entire board now. Essentially, what we're going to do here is we're just going to go through the DraftKings board from most expensive to least expensive. But as we do so, we're also going to talk outrights. We're also going to talk one and done, things of that nature. So let's start at the top of the board. And let's just start with the fact that Scotty Scheffler is here. And I know that last year was kind of like the exception where he didn't play, and usually he does play here, but $13,300 on DraftKings. That is a hell of a price. And yet it's probably worth it because we have Scotty with a 25% chance to win. He's at 2.53 expected strokes gained. The second best strokes gain projection is 1.26. So almost
speed.
1.25, actually more than 1.25 better than second place and more than double second place in the expected strokes gain category. The second best win probability is 3.1%. Scotty's at 25%. In fact, the second best top 10 odds for any player is 25.8%. So Scotty in our simulations is as likely to win as any other player is to finish top 10. That's crazy.
That is nuts.
And it does mean that like maybe we should be paying $13,000 for him. I can't wait to see what ownership looks like because I can very easily see both paths, right? Where I can see him being super popular because all projection systems have him at least similar to where we have him, where he's just so far above the field that you just have to play him to get anything close to an optimal lineup. But I can also see the path where people say, no, if I pay for Scotty, I can't get anybody else that I want in the $9,000 to $10,000 range. I have to play a couple guys that I just think stink at golf. And Scotty hasn't won this year. We haven't seen anything near what we saw from him a season ago. So I really don't know what the field is going to do with him. And I think regardless of what the field does, I'll just take the other side. If the field is totally off him, I'm going to play him. If he's going to be 30 to 40%, I'll just fade.
I'm just going to start my single with Scotty and Bobby Massa. It should get me to 19, spending 19,000 or whatever. So, having that ability to play Bobby in this instance is somebody that I know, and I know he can play at this golf course and has played it a bunch. I love it. I love that he was priced that when I saw it, I was like, it's perfect for me because it allows me to do those. The other, is Eckroat even playing? So this is a place that I called Eckroat's coming out party a couple years ago. And he finished in the top 5, I believe. I don't even know if he's playing this year.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't see him at first glance. Oh yeah, he is 7,700.
Yeah.
He's just further down the list than I thought he would be.
Yeah. He's another super talented, that should play well here, has played well here. And I think that changes to the golf course, if they're as significant as everybody says, actually helps him.
So beyond Scotty, I think one of the reasons why Scotty went to 13.3 is because when you look at the rest of the $9,000 range, it's full of guys who are usually 7 or 8 in stronger fields. Spieth, Sungjae, Burns, Benny On, Pendrith, Siwoo, Jaeger, Ben Griffin, Mac Hughes. Any of those guys, someone that you really want to play this week?
And I just don't. I mean, obviously, Benny On is intriguing, just because we know he hits it far and he chips it good. I really want to see out there. I'm gonna call. So my buddy Michael Martinson's caddying for Bobby. Really good player in his own right. Played Korn Ferry for a while. They're out there playing now, so I'll get a report back from him this afternoon. I was told that the chipping areas are Bermuda now too. I would have to see that to believe it because they're about to blow that golf course up and start over after this year. Which I mean, hell, they can't make it any worse. So I'm glad they're doing something. But I that the chipping areas being Zoysia compared to Bermuda is a big deal to me because I'm going to really lean on who's got the best short game if it is all Bermuda, because that makes those chipping areas a lot more difficult.
And around the green play already spiked so much here that, yeah, it definitely makes sense to lean even more into it if we get that. I think for me, Benny On is definitely the name that interests me the most because he seems to be trending so much in this direction where, like, we saw for a while the accuracy off the tee and the short game for him had really kind of fallen off. But, man, the short game has been really, really good. Gained 0.8 per round at the Valspar, 0.96 per round at the Masters, and then 0.74 per round at the RBC Heritage. So we know the distance is there. The iron play has also been better. It was outstanding at the API, and then he gained at the Valspar, Masters, and Heritage. He had lost in every single event prior to the API with his irons this year. And then you also get like the spike back with the around the green play, and he's putting better this year and last year than he had like in 5 years prior. So like Spieth, I think Benny On's game is trending in such a way where I don't think projection models can quite grasp just how much better he's playing and how much better he now fits the golf course because of his sudden form. So I very much like Benny On. I very much like Jordan Spieth at the top. I think those are the two guys that like I'm hoping that Scotty's 40 to 50% and we get Spieth and Benny around 10%. If we get that, I feel like it's going to be a pretty easy decision at the top for myself. But beyond that, it gets pretty tough. What do you think of Mac Hughes at $9,100 coming off his best start of the season? We have him at 2.4% to win. He's available at as high as 45 to 1 in the outright market.
He just doesn't come across to me as somebody that fits, here that well.
He's got the around the green play. He just doesn't have the distance.
Yeah, I just don't like I'm not going to get off of the distance, especially especially at a place that's generally a birdie fest. Now, if I get this report back today that, hey, the fairways are way narrow, the rough's way up, it's not going to be a gazillion birdies made, then it changes my game plan even more to the around the green play, because the par fives, like he still hits it far enough to reach or get it around the green in the par fives, and as well as 2 par fours that he can drive it up there next to the green. So like that doesn't, I think that's going to kind of change my opinion here. By the way, I don't know if you follow Siwoo Kim on Instagram. You need to go follow him. So we built the company that I own. We built him an artificial putting green in the backyard, and he hit some shots this week, skipping it across this pool and trying to make it. And it's blown up on Instagram. So you need to go check it out. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I designed and built that backyard. So when you see it, it's a pretty cool deal. But so I know he wants to play good. His family will be there. He's a local guy. He chips it pretty well. He actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but he gave me a driver that is, dude, you should see the marks in the center of the face. Like as soon as I hit it, I was like, I felt bad. My ball marks are all over the heel and the toe and high face. And he's just got this like depth of tee that is like unbelievably perfect.
By the way, like you mentioned Siwoo, this is like the FTN Classics event, right? Like it's not just that we've had takedowns here, but Spieth, Burns, Benny On, Pendrith, Siwoo, Mac Hughes, like this is the list of guys that we have loved playing Jake Knapp. It just goes on and on here. So it's not shocking that we've done so well here. And there are going to be some other guys that we're going to have to talk about, like Taylor Moore, another FTN Classic down at $7,500. So I'm very excited for this week.
I got another guy that down there at the bottom of the board that I noticed that's mentally to me what seems like a good fit here, and that's Joseph Bramlett. Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts? Have you seen enough out of him lately? I mean, I know he's had some decent play, but really is kind of underachieved for the talent level that, we had some times there early on that we would talk about him a little bit more, but I don't think we've talked about him in a long time.
The last time I talked a bunch about Bramlett was when, was that 3 years ago now? Was when I was at Woodmont for U.S. Open final qualifying. And Bramlett and Grayson Murray tied for medalist at 8 under. And I think third place was like 2 under. And 8 just seemed like it wasn't a possible score for someone to shoot. So I know he's got the game. He does fit this quite well. Super long off the tee, getting 0.33. That's our estimate. 0.23 around the greens, and just cannot for the life of him putt. So he's kind of like a lesser version of Kurt Kitayama or someone like that. So yeah, I do think there's a very good chance that Bramlett will shine in the GPP scores at 6,700. We have him gaining almost half a stroke per round in our estimate. So I think that's a very good shout out.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, he's played better. I mean, take away the second round 74 at Valspar. Like he played good in the other 2 off events. Finished third at Puerto Rico. So I just like at talent level, just know what we know. Like you just said about his talent level at 6,700 in this field on a golf course that fits him. He's definitely going to be in lineups for me.
Yeah, and it has not been a good season for him, but he also hasn't been able to play a whole lot on the PGA Tour, and a lot of his starts haven't been on great golf courses for him. He does have a third place at the Puerto Rico Open, so even though he has been not so good this season, like we are still seeing the spike. He was cut at the Farmers Insurance, but actually played fairly well, gained a quarter of a stroke there, just wasn't good enough to make the cut. His irons were really, really good that week. So yeah, I think this is a good shout, and he just needs to putt well enough, which he can do. Doesn't often do it, but it's not like we're saying that he needs to gain strokes with a putter. He just needs to not lose the advantage he gains tee to green for a week, and because of that, also like he typically is a pretty good scorer, right? He's going to make his fair share of birdies and eagles compared to the field. So I like this call quite a bit. Up a little bit higher, I do think my favorite value of the week is probably going to be Taylor Moore at $7,500. We have him gaining over a stroke per round, which puts him projection-wise like in that same group as Hughes, Ben Griffin, Jaeger, Siwoo, Pendrith, Benny On, Jordan Spieth, Sung J M. But he's way, way down the board. He also has a 3% win probability in our model, which is actually third best in the entire field because of his week-to-week volatility. So 70-1, Taylor Moore is definitely my favorite bet of the week. That's also available on Bet365, where you can get an each way. I don't totally understand why he's as cheap as he is. He's played quite well this year. He was just cut at the Zurich, but he played really, really well, especially on and around the greens. He was great at the Players. He was great at the Phoenix Open. So, like, he's played solid golf this season. He's great at the Amex. I don't understand why he's priced where he is, either in the outright market or on DraftKings.
Is there an ownership that'll take you off of him?
Yeah, I mean, let's see, what would he have to be? We've got him at 12.5% for a top 5, 21.9% for a top 10. So at 50, probably something like 17%. His GPP score would be close to 0. So 20%, I'm probably off. 25%, I'm definitely off. Something like that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's 20%. That would not be shocking to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't either, but you've got some other guys down here. Harry Hall, Alex Smalley, Rico Hoey, Kitayama. McCarty has been playing really well. Another guy that I'll be interested in.
There's a guy there's a guy lower than him that I thought what you were going to say was your best value here, and that was Cam Davis. I think of it.
Yeah, when we only have him at a quarter of a stroke gain as our estimate.
But I mean, this golf course is very similar to the one that he won on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take his skill set and just knowing what I know about this golf course compared to where he won and how similar everything is. Like, if you can give me low-owned Cam Davis at 7,100 in this field, knowing his talent level, I will have to be in on that.
I think my issue is the ball striking has just been terrible. He's only gained driving once, and he hasn't had a single event this year where he gained in both driving and approach play. His approach has largely been bad. It did spike at the Valspar, and it was good earlier in the season, like in the winter. I'm just not seeing the ball striking from him, and I certainly don't want to count on his short game and putter.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. I just, once again, we're going to talk about how talented he is and how good this course should be for him. I mean, yes, he didn't even drive it very good last week. They managed to get themselves into contention a little bit, but definitely wasn't because of his driving. So I definitely see your point there. I just, like I said, at that price tag on this golf course with this field is intriguing, and especially knowing that he can make birdies in bunches.
Without question, Scotty Scheffler has the best strokes gained approach estimate in the field at 1.0. Can you guess who is second?
Holy cow. Get second strokes gained approach in the field. I don't even know where. I don't know where I would start, to be honest. I'm
I'll
not
give you a
like
hint. He's under $7,500. Third place is also under $7,500.
I'll cheat, and I probably still can't figure it out.
Sammy Valimaki is third at 0.62. Remember, Scotty at 1.0. Second is Henrik Norlander at 0.96. His approach play has been unbelievably good all season long. We got the each way hit, the placements hit last week with the Norlander and List pairing. At times, List was actually carrying the team, but in the alternate shot, like it was exactly as we predicted it. List drove the ball well. Norlander was fantastic with his irons. Let's look at these approach numbers from him. Starting at the Mexico Open in the end of February, 2.5 per round. At the Cognizant, 1.35 per round. At the Players, 1.4 per round. So like sometimes when you see numbers like this from someone like a Henrik Norlander who's not playing all of the best events, you think, oh, maybe you're not doing a good enough job of adjusting for course fit or for field strength. No, we are. It's just he gained 1.4 against the Players and then 1 at the Valspar, 1.1 at the Houston Open, 1.3 at the Texas Open, and then the estimate of 1.9 last week at the Zurich. Like the guy has just been incredible with his iron play all season. The around the green play isn't there and the distance isn't there. So he's like the antithesis of a course fit. But at what point do you just say in a field like this, when you're getting iron play almost comparable to Scotty Scheffler from a guy at $7,100, you just have to play?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it just comes down to how much. I think a lot of this goes back to the course conditions, right? If this place becomes just generically harder, I will go more to a guy that hits his irons better, right? I would just, if everybody is going to, even the best in the world are going to struggle to get it up and down, then I'll take a guy that just struggles to get it up and down everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. It wouldn't bother me. It's kind of the same thing with I don't know, Taylor Moore, same idea. Like it just doesn't feel like, I know Taylor Moore's fit is better, but like you got a guy like Cylinder that's right there that we know that is just his driver's a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get off of a guy that you feel like is a better fit for that place?
Well, I mean, Taylor Moore's driver has been even better than Zelinda's. Like Taylor Moore's driving the ball really, really well, and then has the short game. But with Norlander, like I think the softness of the golf course with the rain could also help him, just because it means it's a little bit easier to hold fairways, and he's therefore just going to get more opportunities to use that iron play. But I definitely think like with Norlander, you just say, well, what's the ownership, right?
Yeah.
Because if he's 15 to 20%. Then you just say, all right, he's not a great course fit. That becomes a pretty simple fade. Man, if he's low owned, he's just too talented. He's just playing too good of golf, I think, to warrant low ownership at 7,100. So a lot of guys, I think, fit that kind of mold this week where you just play the ownership game on.
And he's not like a huge name either, that people are just going to be like, oh, he's way too cheap. You don't scroll down the list and notice him.
Yeah. I do want to talk about McCarty a little bit. Matt McCarty, we've got him at 0.64 expected strokes gained, so pretty good projection there. One of the most volatile players in the entire field, and he's in good form for the first time. So remember, he won October 13th at the Black Desert Championship, gained 3.32 strokes per round. After that win, he lost 2.5, 3, 1.5, 0.3, 0.2, 2.5, 0.8 strokes per round in his next 8 to 10 events. It was really, really bad. But then kind of busted out with a 20th place finish at the Players, 16th at the Valspar, 52nd at the Houston Open, and then 14th at the Masters before he was cut while he himself played fairly well at the Zurich. Are we seeing enough from him to make you want to go back in? Because the talent is clearly there. It's actually a little bit hard to gauge his course fit, because as he has been this volatile, it's like every single part of his game has either been on or off, right? Like he's had weeks where he drives the ball incredibly well. He's had weeks where he can't find a fairway. He's had weeks where his iron play is among the strongest in the field. He's had weeks where he's losing almost 2 per round with his irons. He's had really good short game weeks, bad short game weeks, and he's had fantastic weeks with a putter and weeks where he looks like Joseph Bramlett on the green. So I don't have a great read on McCarty other than, hey, he's playing well again, and maybe we should just lean into that volatility with him. What do you think of McCarty?
It's just such a coin flip guy. So like, and literally like flip a coin if you think he's going to play well or he's not. And he's kind of going to be, if I were going to play him, which I won't this week, but if I were going to play him, it would be one of those guys that like, I'd be like, all right, for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to hope that he spikes 1 week of those 3. And so I know I'm going to have him in a spike week and hope that, that I do well, that, that I have some big score that week. That's kind of the way that I look at guys like that. Like you just have to kind of ride them.
Yeah, I think I agree there. Final question. As we are down in the like low $7,000s and $6,000 range, we have already mentioned Bramlett, and I will say I think Bramlett is the best answer to this question, but maybe we can find someone else as well. Who is this year's SH Kim? The guy who just there's not necessarily form. There's nothing to point to other than course fit and the ability to go low when your game fits the golf course that you are interested in this week.
I mean, Brandon Matthews bombs it.
Yeah, I can't do that. Coming back from injury,
he absolutely bombs it. There are a bunch of local guys that are on this list down here that play out there all the time. So I've got an opinion on this. I don't know if yours is the same. Do you like a guy that's playing at maybe not per se his home course, but a course that he plays really often, that he goes and practices at? Does that do something for you, or do you feel like maybe you don't really want a guy that's overly familiar with it?
It doesn't do anything for me. I think we've had this conversation before, but one of the things that I always think is worth noting when you have this conversation is no matter what course it is, when it hosts a PGA Tour event, the setup is going to be different. And so there is like an element of you are so used to the golf course that you play all the time, playing a certain way, and then you see it in a totally different setup. And that can be as detrimental as it is helpful on certain holes to like really, really know exactly what line you want to take, things of that nature. So no, I don't think it does anything for me. I think in general, it's just a wash. And at the end of the day, the guy has to show up and play well.
Yeah. Well, so I would generally agree, but this place doesn't ever play different. It's shitty all the time. Like it always is the same, even for the tour events. That being said, apparently they did do something for it this year. A name that I just saw that I didn't see that I want to bring up is a kid named Tommy Morrison. I don't know if you know who that is. Big kid, bombs it, played at UT. He's a local kid as well. Absolutely smashes. And if you saw him, you'd think he'd be playing like linebacker or something. Like he is a massive kid. So he's I think probably his first ever PGA Tour start. And I don't even know, probably got a sponsor exemption. In here, we didn't talk about, which is a conversation that you and I probably are more familiar with than most, is Blades Brown turning down his PGA Tour exemption to go play on Korn Ferry to chase status.
Easy decision, by the way.
Yeah, and I've told this story before. Matt Kuchar did the same thing after he won the John Deere. I played with him in Scranton in 2006, and I was like, "Why are you here?" And he was like, I've got a really good year going on Korn Ferry, or what it was, the nationwide tour then. So I'm focusing there to get full status back on the PGA Tour the next year. I think he went back to the PGA Tour the next year, and he's been there ever since. So I love this decision from Blades Brown. Whoever told him to do it is very smart. He's a young kid. My buddy, so a guy that works for me, my buddy Albert Miner, one of his best friends is Josh Creel. He shot 61 on Sunday at the Korn Ferry event last week to finish second, tied with second with that Blades Brown kid. My buddy played mini tour golf for 10 or 12 years, played at Sam Houston State, good player in his own right. Said that Blades Brown kid he fits the eye test, like just flushes it. So if anybody wants to follow him this week, or if you're into betting Korn Ferry stuff, like don't be surprised if that kid wins really soon.
Yeah, I like that. I will give one more name down here. Luke List, $6,500. Kind of been monitoring his game all season. The approach play has just been so incredibly terrible that we really haven't had an opportunity to play him. But I do think the distance plus around the green play very much fits his game here. And we have seen him play better in his last few events. He was cut at the Texas Open, but like the approach play wasn't horrible there. And then he actually gained a little bit at the Zurich, made a bunch of putts at the Zurich. I just think maybe maybe there was a confidence boost that he really needed, but he was great around the greens there. Really creative shots, including, I don't know if you saw, but needing an up and down to give us that placement on the final hole. He took out like a 3-wood or a 5-wood or a hybrid and played a really long bump and run on a shot that a lot of guys were struggling to get anywhere close to the hole, hit it to like 2 feet. So love the creativity, drove the ball well. He's been driving the ball all year. So I think there's a chance that we see, a throwback Luke List type
And
top finish this week. I'm not saying he's going to win or anything like that, but the scoring is there with him. So decent chance, I think, that Luke List shows up this week at $6,500.
And if I find out it's Bermuda around the greens here this year, the chipping areas and stuff are very similar to what we saw last week at the Zurich. You generally don't notice that because, like I said, it's always been Zoysia. So it's always, your ball's always really teed up.
Yeah.
If this is all Bermuda and they've got it growing into the greens, it's going to be a different week. I'm just telling you right now, like those easy gimme up and downs, 25 under stuff is going to be a lot more difficult.
What are you thinking for one and done this week?
I mean, if Taylor Moore is going to be low owned, like that's my first thought. We have to think outside the box, obviously, because where we're at, if we can get him in a really low owned one and done here, that would be my very first thought.
Yeah, I kind of almost think it's an easy decision because we've got someone like he's $7,500 in DraftKings. He will be extremely low owned in one and done, and he's third in our win probability estimate. So that seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, I'm in, and it gives me a local kid to root for that I know in person. I'll be able to talk to when I'm out there Thursday. So we just got to hope he stays away from the extracurricular fun that can be had when you're playing in a PGA Tour event. You got all those girls around and all that stuff. So
he's come through for us before.
I guess he's not much of a kid. He was a kid with him into this.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next week for the Truist Championship. See you then. Reminder: like the show, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Thank you, guys. Catch you later.